that doesn't want voter ID laws, and now they're saying, that's a county's missed it by a day. Sorry, you can't get those voted. You got to be removed off the ballots. So you want them to be able to vote. You just don't want them to be able to sign a petition to get one of your opponents on the ballot as a candidate.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome into the Voice of Reason on a Monday, the greatest day of the entire week. Welcome in. Good morning. It's great to have you along today, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. On the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV as well, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning and welcome aboard. It's great to have you along today on a Monday. Yeah, that's right. Starting off the week, setting the tone today for the last week of August. It's a little hard to believe, isn't it? It's a Monday on the Voice of Reason. Let's get it going.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
There it is, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, I'm starting to realize why my computer's been running really slow this morning. Trying to get all my show prep ready, trying to find the stories, trying to get everything all set. And I realized that when I was here Saturday morning and we had our shows, of course, you have Successful Living with Shannon Stiles. It goes on at 8 o'clock on Saturday. Then we have Under the Hood with Dr. Phil Nightingale over at Mel Hamilton Ford. And I realized that I didn't stop recording. I didn't stop recording the shows on Saturday morning, and it's been recording all weekend long. Now I go on and I get ready to start the recording for the show, so that way I can have the podcast and everything. And what does it say? You've been recording for 45 plus hours. And I say, no wonder why my computer's running a little bit slow this morning. So word to the wise, always pay attention to what you're doing so that way actually things run smoothly and efficiently when you start off a brand new week. It always seems like Monday, of course, is the day when things seem to go a little haywire. So, hey, what the heck? It's a Monday. It's a great morning. It is a little warm out there today. I know that we're on the last week of August, but maybe it'll start cooling down. Maybe a little bit. We do have State Fair coming up, which reminds me we do have today. Get ready for it. And actually, we're going to be doing 2 giveaways today, maybe 3 giveaways today, because I actually forgot to give away a pair of truck and tractor pull tickets on Friday on the show, so we didn't get a chance to do that. So we'll give away 2 pairs of truck and tractor pull tickets to the Kansas State Fair today on the show. Plus, we do have some concert tickets for the Kansas State Fair as well that we'll give away today as well. So today's going to be kind of a big day. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned. We don't have any guests today, which means it's just you and I chit in the chat, advancing conservatism the way that we do every single day. Welcome in. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. You can always shoot me a message on Facebook as well. The Facebook live feed is rolling. That seems to be working okay, at least as of right now. We'll see how long that actually lasts, but you can do so at facebook.com/1480 KQAM. Here's the thing. First off, of course, the big news is that John McCain passed away on Saturday. We got the message, and the media reported that he ended his cancer treatment on Friday, and then he ended up passing away on Saturday afternoon. So not a whole lot of time in between the time that he stopped taking his treatment to the time that he passed. I mean, obviously knowing that he didn't have a whole lot of time yet left. And first off, thoughts and prayers to the entire family. I know that it's a very difficult thing losing somebody. I mean, I know a lot of people right now that are family or that are friends or that are people on social media that I kind of follow and see that are going through similar things, that are bad illnesses or even cancer themselves or just different things going on. It's a very terrible, troubling thing. I will say on the positive note that, he's in a better place where he's not suffering anymore. And that's always good news. And I always look at it that way, as that the suffering's done. He's not hurting any longer. And that's a good sign. That's a very good thing. So thoughts and prayers of the family. Here's the thing. I'm still a little bitter about him. And I know that's a terrible, horrible thing to say about someone who just passed away. I'm still a little bitter. And the reason I'm bitter is not because that he was a rhino Republican and that he didn't have very big conservative values. Not the fact that he was really a grouch and that everybody that we've talked to that had known John McCain said that he was kind of a jerk. and many of the kids, and not any of that. I mean, obviously, death changes a lot of that, and we really refocus on the priorities at those times when someone passes away like that. I don't care about any of that. What really bothers me, and the reason I'm still a little bitter, and I feel horrible saying this, but the reason I still feel a little bitter about John McCain is because he knew that he was dying. He knew that he wasn't going to be very productive, and yet he refused to give up his seat as a senator. And this has been going on since the beginning of the year. We literally sat for 8 months. It's now in August, end of August, almost 9 months since January, really since even 10 months, even Christmas time in December, when he really did this. We sat there for 10 months without anyone actually doing their job in a Senate seat. And look at how much has been done that we've tried to get done, at least in that time. We've tried to repeal Obamacare. We did the tax cuts, and John McCain did not vote on the tax cut thing. We had to do it without John McCain. We had to do omnibus bills that were at the beginning of the year. We talked about building the wall. We've talked about trying to do all these that are extremely important issues. And with how close of a margin it was, in the Senate especially, with 1 or 2 votes of a majority that the Republicans had, John McCain was not there to actually fill that seat and actually vote. And one thing I'm very still kind of bitter about, and again, I feel terrible about that. I feel bitter of the fact that he knew he was dying. He was not doing well. I'm glad he was with his family. I'm glad that he was at home. I'm glad that he had the medical care that he got. I'm glad that he was doing what he was doing at home. Why did he not say, I'm not in the position to do this. I'm not in the position to do my job. I'm not in the position to be in Washington, D.C. and do votes. I'm not in the position right now to do what the public needs me to do. I'm going to sit this out. Let's do a special election. I'm going to recuse myself of this seat. I'm going to retire. And then let's get somebody in there that's going to be in D.C. and that's going to do the job. He ruined a lot of votes in Washington, D.C. And whether it's the medication to where he, just didn't know that he needed to recuse himself, or whether it was just his bitterness of being an individual that was a very angry individual from what we've heard in Washington, D.C., that loved power, that loved the control, and he refused to give up that seat. Now we get to have a special election. Now we get to have an election to actually fill that seat now that he's passed. Why didn't he give it up 8 months ago, 10 months ago? When this stuff started happening, and he had to stay at home. Now they say that he was at home and that he was actually making phone calls and that he was still all on the committees that he was involved in, all the committees that he was still involved in, he was still being involved with, and he was doing things via telephone, but he wasn't in D.C., he wasn't making votes, and I'm still a little bitter about that. We could be in a different position right now as a nation because of John McCain. Whether it was because he hated Donald Trump with a passion, which he did. I mean, I'll even forgive him for the fact that he said that Donald Trump was like Hitler. I'll even forgive that because, you know what? Again, passing away, the dying thing kind of changes the situation a little bit. I still, though, am still very bitter of the fact that he just wouldn't let it go. I'm done. I'm retired. Somebody else do the job, because the people of Arizona, the people of the state that I represent in this Senate seat, obviously remember there's only 2 seats in the entire state, just like every other state, which means this seat is vacant. It's being occupied, but it's not actually doing the job. We're paying taxpayer money to a guy that's not doing his job. And to me, I had a personal problem with that. I know it's a very terrible thing to think of now that he's passed away. Again, thoughts and prayers to the entire family. I'm still a little bitter about that. Just a little bit. Maybe that's a horrible position to take. Maybe that's a very bad thing to say. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I don't know. John McCain, I'll forgive the moderacy, the attacking on conservatives, the wishy-washiness, the working with Democrats, the calling Donald Trump a fascist. None of that stuff matters at the end of the day. But the fact that you were so about holding on to your seat when you weren't even doing anything, to me, that's troubling. To me, that shows that you were in it for the power and the control, not for doing it for the betterment of the state. To me, that really shows the priorities of what this individual had. 316-721-8255. I know, a way to start off a Monday. Call me up and tell me I'm a total jerk because of this. That's okay. I get it. At the same time, I'm still a little bitter about it. Phones are lighting up. Let's go to them. 316-721-8255. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Pete.
Hey, good morning, Pete.
I gotta hand it to you. What you're saying is exactly what I thought Saturday night when I was listening to Fox News, and they had all these people on there slobbering all over themselves about what a great guy John McCain was, when in fact there's two John McCains. There's the John McCain, the warrior who did sacrifice for his country.
Right.
And then there's John McCain, the politician, who was a megalomaniac right in the mold of your best James Bond villain.
Right. No, it makes sense. And, it's always funny that when someone passes, even if they were like the biggest jerk in the world, no one liked them, which we have heard, other than the close friends that he had, like Lindsey Graham and a couple of the Democrats and Chuck Schumer and all those, other than the close friends that he had, everybody else there said, he's like the biggest jerk in the world. He will get in your face and he will yell and scream if you don't support his legislation that he's working on. If you don't vote the way he wants you to, he will get in your face, and he's an angry, bitter old man. Now when he passes away, he's the greatest guy in the world. No, we're really sad and everything. And you're right. I mean, there's the war hero that he sacrificed a lot for his country. I'm never going to take any of that away. The whole Donald Trump thing is saying he's not a hero, whatever. It was campaign rhetoric, and that's about it. And John McCain couldn't let that go. But then you're right. Then there's the politician that was about the control, that was about the power. And we saw that up until literally his dying day, when he refused to step away from his Senate seat because he wanted to stay there until he passed away.
Well, and I'm gonna put this out there, and I'll probably get a lot of hate speech for it, but that just shows what a small, insignificant, closed-minded little man he really was. Mm-hmm. Because when the rubber meets the road, and your days are numbered, how you deport yourself really shows who you are.
Sure.
And John McCain was as you very adeptly put, a very bitter old curmudgeon.
Well, I hate to say something like that on the time he passes. And Pete, I appreciate it. I want to take another phone call here, but you're right. I mean, I don't like to say that stuff. I really hate to say that stuff as someone passes away because the family's mourning. Obviously, again, I'm glad that he's in a better place. I'm glad that he's not hurting any suffering anymore. He's gone through a lot in his life, and we thank him for what he's done as a serviceman in the military. Again, why didn't you step aside in January, in December, in February, when things really got bad in March and April? Why didn't you step aside and say, I realize I will not be able to make it back to Washington, D.C. again. I will not be there for any really important votes. I'm not properly representing the people that I want to represent, and I'm going to step aside and let somebody else take the seat and retire with dignity and retire and then spend time with my family so I don't have to worry about anything. Again, I don't have to worry about the committees. I don't have to worry about votes. I don't have to worry about Washington, D.C. needing me. I don't have to worry. Just do your thing. I've done my time. I've been in that seat for 20, 30 years. I've done all I can do. Now it's time for someone else to take the reins and run with it. Let me spend time with my family. He didn't do that. And to me, again, that shows the character a little bit of, no, I want the control. I want the power. I want to be in it as long as I possibly can, and I will die in this seat because no one's going to take it from me. And I hate to say this stuff, but to me, that's the way I see it. I'm sorry. Pete, I appreciate it very much. Let's go back to the phones here. Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Jim.
Hey, good morning, Jim.
You're partly wrong.
Okay.
Partly wrong because there's no special election. The governor of Arizona will simply appoint a senator.
Sure. But isn't that still better than someone that's not representing?
Well, the point is there's no expense, and it will be very quick. We just have to hope it's not his wife. We don't want to have we don't want to create a dynasty out there.
Sure. And they've talked about that they're going to that the governor may appoint his wife to fill the seat until the next election, which again, that maybe shows
her qualifications are no better than Stormy Daniels' qualifications.
Oh, exactly. And again, doesn't that show that now she's not even in the grieving process anymore of being an older woman spending time with the family, but now she's going to fill into a Senate seat to try and hold up and try and represent it that her husband had, just because of the fact that she was the wife of a senator for 30 years, so therefore she can fill in the seat until the next election. Really? She has nothing else better to do in her life, like spend time with her family because she just lost her husband, but she's got to go to D.C. now?
And there's one more thing. Senator Schumer wants to rename the Russell office building the McCain building in order to, elevate McCain. Actually, the reason for doing that is Russell was a Southern Democrat who was most famous for preventing civil rights legislation. In other words, renaming the office building is simply another attempt to tear down a, quote, Confederate monument.
Oh, sure. I mean, trying to remove history a little bit, update things a little bit, try and change the name. And I mean, now I don't care that they name a building or something after John McCain. That doesn't bother me in one way, shape, or form. And Jim, I appreciate it. We got to take a break here. But, you know, it's no shocker that the Democrats are just as favorable. And again, remember the difference between some of these individuals that have passed away in office, like Tony Snow, if you remember him, the press secretary for George W. Bush that ended up getting brain cancer like that and died as well. They said good riddance, all the Democrats, good riddance to him. He's a jerk. He's a schmuck. He's a conservative. We hate his guts. We're glad that he's dead, yada, yada, yada. Now with John McCain, oh, you know, he's the greatest thing. Let's name a building after him. Again, I don't really care about any of that stuff. I'm just concerned that, you know, everybody's gushing over, and everybody should, I guess, to some degree after someone passes. And again, thoughts and prayers to the family. I'm not taking any of that away. I don't want to sound like a horrible, heartless jerk here. At the same time, the character of the individual really does show in the last days, and we saw it. And then just imagine the governor appointing Mrs. McCain, the wife, to take over the Senate seat until the next election. Is that what we're going to get to? We're going to create some dynasty. I don't know what she's done in her past. I mean, I know she's been involved politically to some degree, but that's the next step that we're going to take. Just appoint her, let a McCain stay in there when she's got nothing better to do, like spending time with the family and just enjoying life and just, you know, doing her thing. Nah, she's got to be able to take the seat to go to D.C. and then she can continue despite Donald Trump. Maybe that was his last wish or something. I don't know. My last wish is I want you to spite Donald Trump no matter what. Even if I ran on the same platform as what he's doing right now, I want to spite him, and I want to vote against it. Please get in that seat so you can stop Donald Trump. If that, again, is the last wishes, it kind of shows the character of the individual. Got to take a break, 23 minutes past the hour on a Monday here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
On that guy, appreciate the phone calls very much. That's all I had to say about it. Again, thoughts, prayers to all the family, all the good stuff like that. Maybe again, he's in a better place and not suffering anymore, and that is good news, and we are very happy about that. 316-721-8255. We'll take a bottom of the hour break. When we come back, we'll shift gears a little bit. There's a lot of big news happening this morning and things that happened over the weekend. A lot of statewide news as well. We will get to all that and more. Your phone calls as well. We got gifts to give away. We don't have a guest today, which means it's going to be a fun day. Open lines to you at 316-721-8255. Good Monday morning. Let's get you started off the right way. Interpret that however you'd like to. This is The Voice of Reason.
Giving the libs one dose of sanity at a time.
I'm not being aggressive, I'm being dominant.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome into The Voice of Reason, starting off your morning the best way we know how to do so, which is getting you pumped up, excited about politics to some degree. Getting you, at least getting both of us educated, excited, ready to go for the day. Welcome in 316-721-8255. So I think, I really think that I'm going to start changing my tone on some of this. What do you think? Maybe I can become anti-Donald Trump. I know, right? Yeah. I really think I'm going to start changing my tone on this. The reason why is because it actually pays more. Maybe I could just go anti-Donald Trump because then I can actually get a little sign money and be able to, I could start a GoFundMe because I've been emotionally distressed by Donald Trump. And I think that I could actually get some money. I should do that as a joke and just see how much money I actually get. It pays to become a Trump nemesis, according to Fox News. Consider what's become familiar routine. Get into a highly publicized media battle with President Trump and then start to go a crowdfunding campaign for your legal defenses because you are an anti-Trump resistance. Since April, according to the review by Fox News, more than $1.7 million have been donated through crowdfunding campaigns like GoFundMe to former Trump attorney Michael Cohen, fired FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, FBI agent Peter Strzok, and adult film star Stormy Daniels. All you got to do is become anti-Donald Trump. You go after Donald Trump, and then you start a GoFundMe for legal fees. I really think that I'm just going to start some kind of GoFundMe. I have emotional distress from Donald Trump. He makes me talk about him every day on the radio. It is very difficult to be able to say that I'm a Trump supporter and then have people go after me and attack me because of that on social media and if I walk down the street. And I really think I'm just going to go anti-Donald Trump. And then I'm going to start a GoFundMe for the emotional distress that I had based on trying to talk about Donald Trump. And I guarantee you that I would have people actually, people start GoFundMes all the time on apparently now. It's the way to get free money because you're a victim. If you ever saw, go to a GoFundMe website and just look through some of these, and some of them are legit, hey, let's, try and raise some money for someone who's fighting cancer or doing something great or, going on a trip or whatever. But there's also ones, there was actually one that I saw, every once in a while, if you try and Google your name, do that. Just go onto Google and Google your name, your first and last name, and just see what pops up. I did that a couple of times, just kind of see curiously who was attacking me and what it had to say, and I thought it was kind of fun. But there's apparently another guy called Andy Hoosier that was on a GoFundMe that was starting a GoFundMe to raise money so he can buy glasses because he needed glasses, like reading glasses. So he needed reading glasses, so he started a GoFundMe because now in today's age and time, we now have a way to say, I'm a victim. I don't have money to survive. Please help me out. And it's no longer government programs, but it's playing on the emotions and the heartstrings of the individuals who go to a GoFundMe page and look at it and feel very bad about the situation somebody else is in, and therefore we can donate money to the GoFundMe. I don't know if you're aware of this or not. I've never been to a GoFundMe page, but I'm going to start one now because I have been victimized by talking about Donald Trump day in and day out on a radio show, and therefore I probably need some emotional compensation because of this. And just like the $1.7 million that have been donated to all these different anti-Trump individuals who go after him, maybe, just maybe, I should do the same thing. What do you think? It's the voice of reason, emotionally distressed at Donald Trump talking on GoFundMe. I'm going to get this started. I really think so. I think we need to. 316-721-8255. I just found that kind of interesting. $1.7 million. Like, who pays into these things? Who says, yeah, I feel really bad. This individual is an elected, maybe not even elected official, but he is, he or she, high up in the government, been working with different agencies, has dedicated their life to the government, but things start to come out a little bit. Things start to trickle through. The fact that now they've plotted against a president of the United States. They've openly worked against them. They've openly and publicly been against the president. They didn't want him to get elected. They fight against him tooth and nail. And now they're victims and they have to expose the truth. I mean, what kind of world do we live in where people are like, yep, that's a good idea. All right, let's give you some money. Got to pay the legal fees. Got to fight tooth and nail against that because Donald Trump is such an evil, terrible human being. And I don't like to go down this road. I mean, you hear this enough with all the other talk show hosts of Donald Trump and everybody that's against him. I don't focus a lot of time on that. I just find it absolutely hilarious that people will spend. I mean, if they want to donate their money, their own personal money, then all the power to you. No one's stopping you. It just shows the mental state that we're in, that we are so anti certain individuals in this nation that we will go out of our way to donate to people who have been fired from their jobs because they did their job poorly, because they actually abused their power in that position in order to try and tear somebody down because they disagreed with them politically. Oh, if you actually disagree with somebody, then that means we need to tear them down and completely destroy them. 316-721-8255. Here's a piece of news for you. As you know, we're getting back into football season. By the way, high school football starting this Thursday, really, on KQAM. We're going to do a high school game of the week. This week it's going to be on Thursday. Friday, we have Bishop Carroll football that's also going to be here on KQAM as we're wrapping up with the Wingnuts baseball over on Sports Radio KGS. So we have a lot of things coming up, a lot of things happening. And I am really excited about it, but football season is right around the corner. And, of course, the first thing that happened as we started talking about football was the NFL players kneeling during the NFL season. And it's already begun during the preseason games, and some of the players have already been doing this, and it's already back into the media. We're already discussing this again. But let's take it to another level. As you know, last year, as we talked about the NFL players kneeling, then we started seeing the high school players that began to kneel. Then we saw some of the really young kids, like elementary school kids, where they're in the different football camps, beginning to kneel because the coaches told them to kneel. And that was a really big discussion point as well. Now we're taking it to another level to where it's not even within a sporting event. We're not even talking about kneeling during sporting events any longer, because now, according to the latest stories, parents are fighting back in Georgia. Going to have to, in Atlanta, actually, going to have to probably get Mark Walters, host of Armed American Radio, to come on the program about this. But in Atlanta neighborhood charter school, according to the principal, Laura Zelsky, has decided to no longer recite the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of the school morning every day for the morning meeting agenda, as an effort to begin our day as a fully inclusive and connected community. We're no longer going to be using the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance in order to start off the morning. Instead, she's having the students, a charter school, these younger children, write their own pledge as citizens of the world, not of the United States, not of a nation, but of the global community. And she's having the children write their own pledge of allegiance to the global community rather than the United States of America. Over the past couple of years, it's become increasingly obvious that more and more of our community are choosing not to stand and or recite the Pledge of Allegiance, she wrote, meaning the principal of the charter school, to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. The statement was posted originally on the school website, promised parents they could recite the Pledge of Allegiance later in the day if they felt like it, and vowed to create a better pledge specifically for the school. Quote, teachers and the K-5 leadership team will be working with students to create a school pledge that they can say together at the morning meeting. It will focus on students' civic responsibility to their school, family, community, country, and our global society. What do you think of that? Now, as we talk about, now this is a charter school. It's still the public school system, but a little bit more different. I mean, it's one of those optional ones where you can actually go there as an option because it's a charter school. And now it was already removed from the website. They already retracted and said they're not going to do this, but it was the principal that started this initiative and said, hey, let's start a global type of pledge to where we don't pledge to the nation because everybody's divisive about it. We don't want people to be all upset. And if you want to do the Pledge of Allegiance, you can do it at a later time in the day. I'm sure the House Education Committee will examine whether the taxpayer-funded school should be used to instill such a divisive ideology to our students, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And less than a day, the school did remove its course and remove that off the website. Zelsky's announcement was wiped from the school's website completely and replaced with a statement from the chairwoman of the school's governing board. In the past, the Pledge of Allegiance was recited during our school morning meetings, but the school started school year. The daily practice was removed to the classrooms. This change was done in compliance with state law and aligned with the Atlanta Neighborhood Charter School, with most of our schools in the state would also say the Pledge of Allegiance in individual classrooms. However, it appears that some of the miscommunication and inconsistency in the rollout, starting next week, we will return to our original format and provide our students with the opportunity to recite the pledge during the all-school morning meeting. So enough heat, luckily, enough parents getting upset saying, yeah, we're not going to deal with this. But this really shows the mentality of the school system now saying, yeah, we're not really going to do the Pledge of Allegiance anymore. I mean, imagine if I can talk today, imagine if that happened here in Wichita. One of our public schools, yeah, you know what, we're not going to do the Pledge of Allegiance anymore. I don't know if they do or not. Do they? Maybe they even don't. Maybe the schools don't do that anymore. They just don't worry about it. I remember we started off our morning every single morning with the announcement, yeah, it's a morning meeting, and this is our lunch menu for today. And they'd always do the updates, what's happening at lunch. Actually, we started off with a few of the students tried to do a little TV morning show thing, too. This is Platte Canyon News Network. And that happened for like a week, and it didn't work very well because it was really expensive. But we did do the announcements, and we talked about the lunch for the day, and we talked about what athletics were going on that evening and what you could get involved with and the sign-ups for what you could do and so on. And they did all the stuff. And during that time, we did the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know if we do that in schools anymore. Do we? I hope so. But the some that are apparently are not wanting to do it any longer. Your thoughts, 316-721-8255. The parents at least did a good job being able to fight this and be able to bring back the Pledge of Allegiance. But the fact that we're trying to move in that direction and get away from it and go towards a global society where they want to focus on civic responsibility to school, family, community, country, and global society means that we have our priorities, I think, in the wrong place. And our children, to teach our little children something like that is more concerning to me than really anything else. 47 minutes past the hour. This is The Voice of Reason on a Monday. We do have a lot to get to, and I do want to bring to something local when we come back. We have news about a KU professor. Shocker. Progressives on that side of the aisle. We have transparency issues in the government that some are concerned about, some not so much. And Medicaid expansion back in the discussion. I know, right? Medicaid expansion. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
7 minutes at the top of the hour. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Great to have you along today on a Monday morning. Speaking of Mark Walters, host of Armed American Radio, I will be filling in for his program today. You can listen to that here on KQAM at 8 p.m. this evening. Looking forward to chatting. It's been a while since I've been on his show, and he is broadcasting at a state fair, I want to say up in Montana? I don't remember where he was at last night, but he was on location last night for his big Sunday Monster broadcast program. I'll be guest hosting his show today while he's traveling back to Georgia, and looking forward to doing so you can hear me tonight, 8 p.m. right here on KQAM with Armed American Radio as I guest host that program. 316-721-8255. You know, it makes you wonder when you hear about a society, when you hear about a generation that really despises, that truly, honestly despises the nation, and you love someone like Donald Trump, or I'm sorry, you love someone like Barack Obama, who went out and apologized for the nation, apologized for who we were, hated everything that we were about. When you hear someone advocate for like democratic socialism or even socialism altogether, when socialism goes completely against everything the Constitution actually says. It's total. You remember McCarthyism that back in the day when we would actually ban communism, and if you believed in communism as an elected official, then you were almost treasonous. That's kind of what we need to have. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, we need to arrest people for the belief system that they actually have, but if you're an elected official and you're actually advocating for anti-constitutionalism with constitutionalism that is constitutional republicanism, as in a constitutional republic, not socialism. And if you advocate for something like that, then you should like not hold office. You can believe that, but you should never implement it. And if you really love socialism, you should go back. I'm starting to understand why we have a generation that actually believes in these things, that actually believes in not supporting America, not thinking that we're so special, not thinking that they actually have opportunity. While they're sitting there with millions of dollars playing a football game, for example, then they turn around and say that the country is terrible and that there's nothing great here. It really makes sense to me now. And it starts at the local level, starts at the home front, it starts at the school, and it starts with reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. And when we hear about stories like this where they want to get rid of the Pledge of Allegiance because it's so divisive, what's divisive about a pledge to where you say, you know what, I love my country? And this country is giving me an opportunity to do something that no other nation really gives me an opportunity to do. And that's the greatness and the uniqueness and the awesomeness of this nation. And that's why I'm going to pledge myself to this nation, because I'm an American citizen. And if I don't want to be an American citizen, then I'm going to not be one, and I'm going to recuse myself of this nation. I'm going to take away my citizenship, and I'm going to go move somewhere else. You have the power to do that. And my generation, the millennials especially, we don't like America. It's run by a bunch of rich white guys. It was built on the backs of slaves. When you live under that thought process, then it really makes you think, first off, when you wake up in the morning, are you just bitter and angry all day long? And second off, if you do believe in something like that, why don't you change it? Why don't you do something about it? Not change the nation, because you're not going to change the nation, but why don't you go and just go somewhere where you're happy? It's almost like I thought about different places to live. You know, we've talked about, my wife and I, when we get retired and we want to move somewhere where we want to live, and we want to live out the rest of our days and just enjoy. And we've thought about different areas. And it's one of those where it's like, I love debating. I love arguing. I love changing things. I love fighting for what's right, or what I believe is what's right. And we try and fight for the right thing every day. But is it one of those where you want to live in the sanctuaries, live in a place to where you don't have to fight, so you go outside in other places to fight, or you live right in the heart of the beast and you try and change it from within? The problem is, though, is that you get exhausted doing that. You really do. I'm never going to move to Boulder, Colorado to try and change everybody in Boulder, Colorado, because it's not going to happen. And all it's going to do is drive me mad, because you're never going to get a break. I'll enjoy it to some degree, but at the same time, I'm going to get burnt out. That's like a progressive liberal moving to Kansas and then recognizing the fact that we're a very pro-gun state, we're a very pro-Second Amendment state, we're a very pro-life state, and then them saying, this is terrible, I hate this place, I'm going to change it, which is what they like to do. But the progressives, you would think, if they despise the nation so much and they don't want to recite the Pledge of Allegiance and they don't like the national anthem and they burn the flag, and then they say that they try and say that they love the country, they just want to change the country, that they really don't love the country and that they would move somewhere else that makes them happy. You would think, but yet they don't. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. We got a lot to get to. Hour number 2, we'll bring it back here to local front. We have some things happening in the state of Kansas you kind of need to know. This is The Voice of Reason. Hour number 2 coming up. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
These are the ones that are trying to get illegal aliens to be able to vote in our elections. This is the party trying to get people who are actually incarcerated at the time to actually vote. This is the same party that doesn't want voter ID laws, and now they're saying, the county's missed it by a day. Sorry, you can't get those voted. You got to be removed off the ballots. So you want them to be able to vote. You just don't want them to be able to sign a petition to get one of your opponents on the ballot as a candidate.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome into The Voice of Reason, hour number 2 of The Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas. On the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV as well, KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning, welcome aboard. It's great to have you along today on a Monday. Can you believe it? The greatest day of the entire week. I'm kind of itching to debate with somebody right now. I'm kind of feeling like a good argumentative type of style. It's a Monday. I think we should start it off the best way. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's get you pumped up. Starting off today, setting the tone for not only today, but for the entire week, getting you ready. It's going to be exciting. A lot of big news happening this week, the last week of August. Can you believe it?
Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Oh, yeah, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, we got a lot to get to talk about today. No guest today. You and I chit in the chat, advancing conservatism. We were going to have Mark Walters, host of Armed American Radio, on the program. Then it turned out being that he was not able to be that because he was traveling today, and actually I'm going to be filling in for his show this afternoon. So stay tuned in, KQAM, at 8 p.m. tonight. I'll be guest hosting Armed American Radio. Looking forward to doing so right here on the KQAM airwaves. But we were going to get him on, and then he messaged me yesterday and said, I'm actually traveling and I can't, but can you come on my show? I said, so sure. So we'll do that coming up tonight. Stay tuned in. Looking forward to filling in for his show. But I was going to ask him about something that happened here in Kansas, because there is some new news. Of course, the universities all panicky that there might be guns on the campus. Yeah, I know. And they're all wigging out about it, so they don't like guns. It's kind of like they don't necessarily. It's kind of like Riverside Cafe, if you remember, when they ended up posting the picture of them saying that they actually accept individuals carrying concealed carry. People had been there for years and years and years, eating at Riverside Cafe and enjoying the food because it's really great food and the customer service and everything of that sort. They're just enjoying. And then they realize that there's been guns there the last 13 years. And then they panic and say, how dare you accept guns? We don't like that. We're never going to show up again. You've been around it for the last 13 years if you've gone there, and now all of a sudden it's a problem because now you're aware of it. Because now you actually know about it. It's kind of a scary thing. So just like the university, you don't know who's carrying the gun. I know, it's kind of a scary thought, isn't it? You could be right next to someone that has a gun underneath their jacket, and that's a very scary thing. You don't know if they have the gun. So in response, University of Kansas, of course, KU, it's got to be KU. I'm sorry for all the KU fans out there, but KU's nuts. I'm just saying. They're the ones that had the flag, the desecrated flag that was flying above the building. They just don't care. And then say, oh, we didn't know anything about it. Guess we'll take it down. But they were the ones that put it up. From what I had heard, they had actually built that new flag post just for that flag. I don't know if that's true or not, but that was the discussion. Now, all of a sudden, Kansas University, a professor, has warned students not to bring any legal concealed carry weapons to class and attempted to redefine the university's policy code to justify her fear of students pulling a gun on her if they disagreed with the subject material. Here's the crazy thing, though. I don't know if that was a typo or if there's some kind of identity crisis thing going on, but Professor Eric Roth, this says to justify her fear and that she's attempting to change university public code. But then Professor Eric Rath, who is a professor on samurai history. First off, show of hands, everybody, please. Who thinks it's a good idea to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to take a class on samurai history. That is going to get me really, really far. I'm going to be able to flip burgers so much better because I can do it in ninja style. Ho ho. I mean, come on. Who goes and takes a samurai history class and think that you're actually spending your money appropriately at a state university when you're getting butt tons of student loan debt because, you're taking a whole bunch of classes, but you got to take samurai history. And I guarantee you that in a samurai history class, that there was probably a class where the professor brought in a samurai sword and some gear and said, oh, look at this. This is really cool, right? You'd think that probably happened in a samurai history class, but now the Professor Eric Rath, she said, according to the story, quote, I request that you not bring firearms to class or wherever I am present. When I'm trying to focus on helping you do your best work, I do not want to worry about whether you might be reacting to pulling a gun on me or whether you might have an improperly secured weapon in your belt or your bag. I hope that nothing in this course will make you so desperate, but in my 20 years as a university instructor, I've seen students become uncontrollably angry because of something that's happened in the course, a disappointing grade, an allegation of academic misconduct, an uncomfortable topic, a controversial statement. If you do not carry a weapon, you cannot be tempted to use it in a moment of frustration. Ladies and gentlemen, now I don't know what could frustrate you enough in a class of samurai history that you'd want to pull out your firearm and shoot the teacher or shoot anybody in the class, but this shows right here, prime example of the reason that we have loony individuals in society.
It's your Pinko Flaming Commie Corner.
I mean, come on, give me a break. The fact that you're worried about a student pulling a gun and that you feel that uncomfortable. You do a study on samurai history. where you learn about the samurai, you learn about oath, you learn about honor, you learn about the swords, you learn about the fighting, you learn about the war that they had, you learn about the you learn about samurais and ninjas, and you're worried about a gun. You're worried about students pulling out a gun. You could be teaching honor. Oh yes, honor. Yes, very good. And how they were very honorable to their family. And they were very honorable to society, and they didn't do anything out of wretched. And you're worried about a young kid pulling out a gun in class. This is the lunacy that we live in today. Now, obviously, you don't know anything about firearms because, if it's secured the proper way. And I've not heard of any accidental firings going off at a university except for the random one that they said in K-State that happened even before they legalized the constitutional carry on campus. And we don't know what it was. We've heard about the couple that forgot them in the bathrooms. Again, that wasn't even students, though. One of them was a janitor. The other one was a stolen firearm from a house nearby the university grounds. A student that's carrying a firearm has yet to actually leave their gun unattended or not be very responsible with that firearm. I'm just saying. But as you're learning about the war ways of samurai and ninjas, then you start being afraid of firearms. The professor is also, by the way, taken away any of the office time for students to come by the office to ask questions or to talk or to do additional studying with Professor Roth. I don't know if it's a he or she named Eric, but it says she in here, so I'm just going to go with Professor Roth. In keeping with my responsibility to maintain an infectious learning environment, as the faculty code requires, I will report all gun violations to KU and state authorities. You may be asked to leave campus immediately, and you may be subject to criminal charges as well as university disciplinary process. In addition, you will be banned from my classroom until KU authorities have certified that you are no longer a danger to yourself and to others. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. The danger that you bring because you have a firearm to protect yourself. You are a danger. You are a threat. You are a problem with society. You're no longer welcome into the classroom, and you will be reported to KU authorities. It's a very scary thing. Yeah. It's kind of like the blue helmets or something, right? Kind of like the blue helmets from the UN. I'm so scared. Let's go to the phones. 316-721-8255, line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, that professor is missing a complete point. The simple and the only thing that will be effective to make her happy is she needs to require nudity in all her classes.
Well, I don't know. In a samurai class, then, probably. I mean, who knows? Who knows what the samurai did back then? And in a samurai history class, that's really going to get you very far. I mean, if you take a samurai history class, you're probably up there with like the bioengineers and the scientists and the researchers and the mathematicians.
You're missing the point. Anybody wearing clothes might be carrying a weapon.
There you go.
Also, everybody. Well, the only clothes that should be allowed in her class would be straight jackets.
Well, see,
she needs to wear one first.
And then there's that. Yep, appreciate it very much. How dare you say such a horrible thing like that, Jim? Appreciate it very much. Straight jacket, so offensive. Yeah, this is the lunacy. Now, this is a KU university. Again, you don't hear these stories even from like Boulder. Now, Boulder, you're not allowed to carry firearms, so they don't like that. But, I mean, you had the hate speech on Boulder. You had the fascists. You had Antifa that was actually at Boulder. You don't even hear stories like this saying that if you ever bring a firearm here, then we will panic and we will freak out like this. You don't even hear stories like that. KU, though, oh. Now, this is the same university that has the name tags that you have your preferred gender or your preferred pronoun pronunciation on when you go to class. I prefer to be pronounced as it because you don't like he or she. Gosh, we have some work to do. And again, this probably stems back to the fact that the parents didn't actually, and I'm talking about the teacher here. I'm talking about like the teacher's parents that are probably, I don't know, older now and retired because it's a professor. So they're probably I don't know the age of this professor, maybe a young one, not too sure. But it probably goes back to their parents to where they never went hunting. They never were involved around firearms. They were told they were very scary things. And now they live in a utopia of the nice little happy social experiment that is a college university. And they're very scared about firearms. very scared about firearms. I mean, we could talk about samurais in the history of all the time. We could talk about the sacrifice that they used to do, the suicide they used to do to kill themselves for the honor or because they dishonored their family. You could talk about samurai in that sense, but you bring a gun because you want to protect yourself from evil, terrible, horrible people like, I don't know, terrorists and stuff, and you're not allowed to carry the firearm. You're the danger to society. This really shows where we're at today. I think we need to work on that a little bit. This is The Voice of Reason, 18 minutes past the hour. Stay right here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, 24 minutes past the hour. Welcome into The Voice of Reason. Good Monday morning to you. Starting off your week the best way we can, which is the right way. Interpret that how you'd like to. The right way. Yeah. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. You know, we can bang our heads over and over and over again against the wall, which we do. And I don't mind doing it because that's what I enjoy doing. But you can bang your head against the wall over and over and over, trying to teach individuals, trying to show them, look, you know, shootings only happen in gun-free zones and that people that are actually responsible with firearms, that's really what it's about. And, oh, by the way, it doesn't really matter what you feel about the gun because you have a Second Amendment right to be able to carry the firearm. End of story, period. That's kind of it. And you can try and regulate it. You can try and ban it. You can try and take it away. You can try and... I heard an interesting concept when it came to the national reciprocity bill that we talked about last week a little bit was, you know, someone that didn't like national reciprocity because, well, that gives the government control, saying that you're allowed to. They're giving you the ability when it's not in the government's hand at all, which is kind of an interesting point, but the national reciprocity would kind of do nothing more than reinforce the Second Amendment, saying that you have the right to carry a firearm, that the right for you to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, and that just kind of reinforces it. And unfortunately, with our governmental system the way it is today, is that we need laws to reinforce laws that we already have on the books, because apparently now it's okay for us to ignore the rule unless you actually reinforce it with 2 or 3 different bills reinforcing what we already have on the books. And apparently that's the way we have to work today, because we need law on top of law on top of law. It's stupid, but that's the reality of the situation today. So apparently, the way we need to work this is that not only do we have constitutional carry, not only do we have carry on campus that is legal in the state of Kansas, and all those students at Kansas University have the right to carry that firearm on campus, and even in the classroom, even with that professor there, if the professor doesn't like it, then, you know, oh well, doesn't really matter. Then you really go to the classroom, and when he or she, I don't know, again, Professor Eric, that is a she, I don't know, doesn't matter to me. Regardless, that when you walk into the classroom and the professor says, no, you're not allowed to carry that, then you say, hey, maybe. And that's really what you do as a response, because legally you're allowed to do so. So I don't know, maybe we have to pass a law now in the state of Kansas reinforcing the carry on campus law that we already have in effect. And if we have to, then we will, because our legislature, I think, will do that. We have more conservatives going up there, which I think is really good news. So that is something that we could look forward to. I don't know why we need to have a law reinforcing a current law that it's already active, but welcome to our governmental system. But we haven't had any shootings, haven't had any accidental firings, hadn't had any stupid people. I mean, come on. They think that these children are so dumb, that they're young children, even though they're in college, they're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, that they're dumb. They're going to these college parties, they're getting crazy drunk, and then just shooting guns off in the air, which, I mean, welcome to the Wild Wild West. We are in Kansas. That's where the cowboys started, sort of thing. But that's not society today. That's not society today, and that's not the way that we actually operate. And it is sad that we just can't allow the responsibility to be held by the students who have done nothing wrong as of yet in any way, shape, or form. It is that time. Let's do our first one for today.
Call now at 721-8255. right here on KQAM.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We got one of many gifts and giveaways that we're doing today. We didn't do a truck and tractor pull giveaway on Friday, so we're doing an extra one today. But let's do the first one. Truck and tractor pulls at the Kansas State Fair, 3 p.m. on Sunday, September 16th. It is like one of the biggest things at the State Fair. If you love the good old redneck style entertainment, the truck and tractor pull is it, because it is one of the coolest spectacles that you'll see at the Kansas State Fair. So let's go ahead and give away a pair of tickets right now. Let's do caller number two. Caller number two at 316-721-8255, and we'll get you a pair of tickets to the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulls, brought to you by the Mid-America Network, right at the Kansas State Fair on Sunday, September 16th, 3 p.m., and you, my friends, will get a pair of tickets to that spectacle. Stay here. Stay on the line. We got some calls coming in already, and we'll get that for you. I do have, and I'm not doing it right now, so don't expect these yet, but I do have coming up on the show today a pair of concert tickets, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to give away today yet. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Let's do these. We'll do these probably in the 8 o'clock hour, but we are going to give away a pair of Roots and Boots, the kind of touring concert with Sammy Kershaw and Aaron Tippin, and it's going to be a heck of a concert. If you like the good old boy kind of country, this is going to be your ticket. It's on Tuesday night. Tuesday, September 11th is going to be the concert night for this one. It's the Roots and Boots tour. It's got Sammy Kershaw. It's got, what's the other guy's name? I'm trying to think here. I can't remember the other guy's name. Not Josh Abbott. The other one. Doesn't matter. It's got Sammy Kershaw, Aaron Tippin, and the other guy. 3 guys. It's the Roots and Boots tour. It's going to be a heck of a concert. I do have a pair of tickets for that. We'll give that away in the 8 o'clock hour as well. So stay tuned in. More tickets to come for you, and we'll have more information. I'll have the other guy's name on that as well. But we do have the Roots and Boots concert tour that we will give away in the 8 o'clock hour. This one, no, for the truck and tractor pulls. Pair of tickets for that Sunday, September 16th, 3 p.m., brought to you by the Mid-America Network. We'll take a bottom of the hour break. We got some calls on the line. We'll get your winner coming up here in just a minute. When we come back, we'll shift gears a little bit. We got to talk about some transparency bills. Plus, Shawnee Mission Schools comes out with their numbers on where their money's going, as we read a couple of days ago about Blue Valley. No. What was it? Topeka. Where their administrative money goes up, their salary increases. The same's happening at Shawnee Mission. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
It's time for your daily dose of reason.
Are you insane?
I don't know. Just ignore him.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, good morning to you. Welcome into The Voice of Reason. Good Monday. Congratulations to Les, one of the pair of tickets to the Outlaw Truck and Tractor Pulls. We'll have more coming up later. We also have some concert tickets that we will give away today. Stay tuned in for that. Looking forward to it. Roots and Boots along with Josh Abbott. We do have Josh Abbott tickets as well. We'll probably do those tomorrow. More information to come. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. So if you remember, last week we had talked about some of the salary changes from some of the school districts, one of them being USD 500 for Kansas City, where the superintendent had the largest change of 97% in the salary. Remember, the schools are getting more money this year. The court decision that came back from the session earlier this year is starting to already come to fruition. I mean, we already gave them more money, $500 some odd million more. What was it, $530 some odd million? More money into the classroom, more money for the mental things, more money for, just about everything across the board. More money across the board. Here you go. Here's more money. Then you can do what you want with it, because that's going to be enough money for us to hopefully be constitutional compliant. Remember that. And then the Supreme Court came back and said, yeah, that's great. Now you need some for interest, for inflation and for the interest, and just more money. $97 million, $100 million more. Then we'll be good every single year. And we talked about where the money actually went. USD 500, Kansas City payroll. Superintendent said the largest change increase of 97% from $232,000 up to $458,000. And we went on down the list of everybody that got the largest change percentage-wise in their salaries from 2017 to 2018. And it went from superintendents to assistant superintendents for elementary and secondary, chief financial officer. Wouldn't you love to be that person? the chief financial officer for a school district that says this is where all the money's going. We don't have enough. And then when we say that we're going to do it for teacher salary hikes, then we do everything but teacher salary hikes. I'd love to be the chief financial officer. And by the way, you just got a 2.3% raise from $182,000 to $186,000 because I do a really good job of being able to break down the finances for the school district and then say that we need more money for an AstroTurf practice football field and we need more money for superintendents. We don't need more money for teachers, although that's what we said we needed money for and why we needed more money in the school district. I'd love to be that person. Could you be that person? It's almost like a weather person where you could be wrong 97% of the time and still keep your job. Let me tell you something. If I was wrong 97% of the time here on the show, then I probably wouldn't have a show or you wouldn't listen to me because I would not be a very credible source. Because I'd say stuff and it just wouldn't be true. This stuff is true. I'd love to be able to we need more money for schools because we need money going towards teachers. So you give them more money. Teachers aren't even on the list of the largest salary increases from 2017 to 2018. The bottom of it is custodians and maintenance. And now this is just a broad from the entire district of all employees for custodians and all the resources for that went up 4% from $8.5 million to $8.8 million. That's how much money increased for custodians, which I find hysterical. Now, I don't know if that's happening here in the Wichita area or not. This is Kansas City again with USD 500. We got our list, and I've talked a little bit about this before. We got our list of the items that we needed to bring to school because, again, my daughter, she started preschool, and they had the items of you need the backpack, you need the crayons, you need this, that, and the other. And I made the case of the tissue boxes, which I find completely absurd and ridiculous. You got to bring the tissue boxes. I get it. I brought those as a kid as well. But, okay, that's $1, whatever. Throw those in there, throw that in the backpack and just sit there. And that way, if every kid brings in 1 or 2 boxes, they have usually enough for the entire school year and they don't have to worry about it. That's fine. You know what's on the school list this year? And my wife brought it to my attention. I didn't even catch it, but she got it, obviously, and she took it. You have to get Clorox wipes. Clorox wipes. You have to get that as an item on the list to take to the school. Now, I get it. They're kids. They're especially young kids. There's probably snot everywhere on everything, and they're sneezing, and they touch everything, and they eat everything and put them in their mouths because they're like 3 and 4 and 5 years old, or 4 and 5, I guess is preschool time. But you have like crazy, dirty kids. I get it. But seriously, you have to get Clorox wipes as the list of items as a school thing. You can't even say that, the custodians, even though they went up from $8.5 million to $8.8 million in a school district, and we're spending millions of dollars on custodians and cleaning stuff, that you have to bring in Clorox wipes. Again with the whole, is this really your responsibility to take care of it? Now, again, tissue boxes I get. Crayons, obviously. Dry erase markers, maybe. Not really, because that should really be the school taking care of the teacher and what the teacher needs in the classroom. But Clorox wipes? Oh yeah, my wife said, yeah, we got the Clorox wipes. I had to put it in the bag and take it to school with her. I just don't get that. Wouldn't that be part of the custodian's finances of, hey, you know what? They're dirty kids. Let's make sure we have Lysol and Clorox wipes in the classroom. Doesn't make any sense to me. So that's what we talked about last week was USD 500 with Kansas City's payroll increases. Now let's look at, according to the Kansas Policy Institute, they came out with some more numbers for USD 512 with Shawnee Mission School District. With the changes in salaries from 2017 to 2018. Because remember, we needed more money when it came to teachers and teacher salaries, and that's what they said they were going to do. Teacher salaries. Got to take care of the teacher. We don't have enough money for teachers, and teachers are getting the raw end of the deal because we don't take care of them enough, right? Well, apparently that still wasn't their priority. USD 512, Shawnee Mission, the highest paid employees in select categories with the changes percentage-wise from 2017 to 18. Teachers, again, not even on this list. Interim superintendent went up 15% from $229,000 to $265,000. Assistant superintendent for human resources, assistant superintendent for leadership and learning, and assistant superintendent for instructional support. I don't even know what instructional support means. Can I do that? Hey, well done, teacher. Well done. You need a pat on the back. You need instructional support. You did a really good job teaching today. You did a really good job. Where's my $200,000? 190 to, or I'm sorry, 194 to 199, a 2.6% increase there are 3 different assistant superintendents. Now tell me why you need 3 different assistant superintendents, one for human resources, one for learning, leadership and learning, and one for instructional support. Couldn't you combine those 2, by the way? Leadership and learning and instructional support. Instructional support would be like the critiquing of the teacher, I'm guessing, of, hey, this is what you could do better in your class. This is really good. This is what this teacher's doing over here that's doing really well. Oh, maybe you should try this. Maybe you should try that. Isn't that leadership and learning? Leadership and learning would be, this is how you learn the bestest, because I've done well in education. Chief academic officer, again, with these random positions. The assistant superintendent for innovation and performance. Also, there's 5 of them, actually. There's another one for early childhood, assistant superintendent there. Executive director, director of family services, director CFO, custodians, again, maintenance and groundwork. All employees for the maintenance and groundswork, by the way, went up 23%, $2.8 million to $3.5 million for USD 512. And principals and assistant principals, all of the employees went from $7.3 million to $8 million, a 10% increase. Principals and assistant principal. Now, I don't know how big the school district is for USD 512, how many schools are in there, but all of the principals and and assistant principals, which I'm guessing, maybe 5 or 6, maybe 10. I don't think there's 20 different schools in the district. Is there? I don't know, maybe. Okay, let's say 20. $8 million for them. This is where the money's going. And then we say, we don't have enough money for teachers. Well, no blankety blank, Sherlock. Maybe your chief academic officer or maybe your chief financial officer should really look at the numbers and say, you know what, we should probably appropriate this a little bit differently. What do you say? Superintendent, 5 assistant superintendents, academic officers, executive directors, custodians and maintenance and groundswork. None of it going to the classroom. And then we wonder why the students are struggling. We wonder why the students are suffering. We wonder why the teachers are not being properly taken care of. We wonder why the books are 20 years old and they're being held on by duct tape. And we wonder why we don't have enough stuff when it comes to the classroom because the teacher can't get the appropriate, the alphabet across the chalkboard because she has to purchase it out of her own pocket. Why? Because the highest paid things here are all on the administrative side. But we're really caring about the children. Give me a break. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones here, shall we? Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, Andy. It's Ron.
Ron, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Good show this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Until the legislators get serious about putting a base on their salaries, because the legislators don't negotiate their contracts or anything like that. They need to set a base salary based on how many students, and there are a lot of factors there, and anything above that, then the district's going to have to cough the money up.
Right. No, you're right. It needs to go, as you mentioned. I would put a cap on all the superintendents, all the assistant superintendents, put a cap on it. You don't need to be making $200,000 and some odd $300,000 as a superintendent of a public school system. This is our taxpayer money. We're paying the tax money for the children, and therefore 90% of the money should be going towards the classrooms. And then, this is almost like you get into politics and you want to be involved in politics and you have to do a lot of volunteer work and you have to do a lot of sacrificing for this. A superintendent, honestly, and don't get me wrong, they do a lot of stuff, but $80,000 cap maximum, even for a major school district. Even for a major one, cap it. This is not supposed to be a get-rich scheme here. This is a public school system that's funded by our taxpayer money, and the majority of the money should be going into the classroom for the teacher's benefits, the teacher's salary, and the resources in the classroom, so the teacher does not have to spend their own money for what needs to be in the classroom. So the students do not have to bring Clorox wipes from the parents to go into the classroom because we may be increasing 20% on maintenance and custodian expenses for the district, but we don't have enough money to put Clorox wipes in a classroom with a bunch of filthy little kids. Come on. Give me a break.
Yeah, that thing of it is that all these school districts, if they're rich because they've got a good tax base, I'm tired of this. Well, let them, if they want to build a 2 or 3 fields that are astroturfs and whatever they want to build, but it's going to be on their dime.
Sure.
We have got to stop this crap of these Taj Mahals that they're building in these school systems.
I agree, Ron. I appreciate it. I mean, it's the Taj Mahal that we see, the massive building. It's the administrators that are making all the loads of money. I mean, the highest paid, obviously, with all these, the largest increase in the changes in the salaries, the largest salaries that we have are all on the administrative side. The teachers get the raw end of the deal. The students get the raw end of the deal. And then the school district has the nerve to spend our money on a legal suit to sue us for more money because they say the teachers are getting the raw end of the deal when they're the ones that are making it happen. Let me tell you something. Superintendent, interim superintendent, assistant superintendent, none of you are getting any pay raises. None of you are getting any end-of-the-year bonuses. None of you are getting hired on as new positions to where we need an instructional support superintendent and a leadership and learning superintendent for the district. None of you are getting increases. None of you are getting paid. And actually, we're going to cut your salaries in half because we care about the teachers so much that you should be willing to sacrifice half of your paycheck in order for that to be appropriated to the teachers so that way they don't have to spend their money in their classroom. You would think that would be the appropriate way. This is The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
7 minutes to the top of the hour. Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Right here on KQAM. Oh, the messages on social media are funny. We'll talk about those in just a minute. This portion of The Voice of Reason brought to you by the AARP. Whether it's the Fraud Watch Network, the Retirement Calculator, getting involved in the community, make sure to check them out, aarp.org/KS4, the state of Kansas. Marin Turner is back with us here. Marin, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm fine, Andy. How are you?
Hey, we're doing great. The last week of August, we're getting towards September, Kansas State Fair time. Fall time is right around the corner. It is crazy again how fast this year has gone.
It really is. And you know, we're about to see the end or the unofficial end of summer coming up next week with Labor Day. And so I invite people to visit our website, www.aarp.org/KS. to see how we celebrate working people every single day. We have all kinds of information on the website about, you know, tips on how you can advance your career or perhaps even start a new career. And so I invite people to visit our website. We also have a whole list of events that are coming up, and we want people to come out. We have a wonderful food truck that's going to be at the Kansas Wichita Grandparents Park. That's going to be on the 20th, and people can come out from 5 to 7 and enjoy different cuisines and just have a good time. We also have a really big event coming up in October on the 2nd. It's not too early to register for that. It is going to be at the Hughes Metroplex. We are having Frank Abagnale come in. He's going to talk to us about fraud. If you saw the movie Catch Me If You Can, starring Frank DiCaprio, then you know who I'm talking about. So we hope people will go on the website and register for that, October the 2nd.
That's right. That's coming up pretty quick here, and I'm glad you guys are doing that. It's really cool to see kind of the inside scoop of how, someone that was a fraudster, that used to scam, that used to do these things, now recognizing like the error of their ways. It reminds me, I don't know if you remember watching the show Home Improvement, and they were talking about the safety and the guy that was the theft that would break into the homes, and he was on Tool Time to show about how you can secure your home so people can't break in, sort of thing. And it's really cool how these individuals, are recognizing that and teaching others the loopholes that they used to use, try and get them to understand how they used to fraud other people so we can protect ourselves, because it's kind of an important thing.
It's a really important thing, and the Frank Abagnale event is something that's open to the public. You don't have to be a member, and no matter what age you are, you can learn something if you come out and listen to some of the inside track on how people defraud other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know you guys had as well your movies for grown-ups recently as well. I know another one may be coming here relatively soon, but as you mentioned, before it gets cooler, before the fall really sets in, you do have that the picnic deal with the food trucks and with everybody coming out to the grandparents' park and just having fun that way. Get outside, go spend some time with the family and have fun there, correct?
Absolutely. And you mentioned movies for grown-ups. We do have one coming up on the 27th. We are going to be showing Won't You Be My Neighbor? And so it's not too early to register for that as well. We have a lot of things going on, so I invite people to visit our website regularly to find out what's going on with AARP in Wichita.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one more time, I know you guys mentioned the online class to be able to learn about ways to make your resume and be able to get prepared just in case you do, you're trying to start your career or changing your career. I know a lot of people love to change their career nowadays. No matter how you do that, the presentation is always one of the most important ways to do so. So again, how can people go on there? How can people learn about that? And when's the class going to be?
Well, they can go online and register at www.aarp.org. We have a couple of online things that people can register for, or just visit our general website to find out more things that are going on a national basis that Wichitans can take advantage of. You can also call us at 1-866-448-3619, and we'll be glad to talk to you about some of the things that we do every single day to celebrate working people.
Very good. Maren Turner with the AARP. Again, aarp.org/KS for the state of Kansas. Maren, we always appreciate it very much. Enjoy the week, and next time we talk to you, it's going to be September already.
I know.
There it is.
Thanks, Andy.
We appreciate it very much at aarp.org/KS for the state of Kansas. Maren Turner right there. We'll take a break. Top of the hour news. We got some calls on the line. Stay there because it's open lines to you in the next hour. No guest. It's just you. So when we come back, we're starting off with phone calls from you, with you, to talk about conservatism right here in the state of Kansas. Advancing conservatism on a daily basis right here on your one and only conservative talk show. This is The Voice of Reason. Lots more coming up in hour number 3 of The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
These are the ones that are trying to get illegal aliens to be able to vote in our elections. This is the party trying to get people who are actually incarcerated at the time to actually vote. This is the same party that doesn't want voter ID laws, and now they're saying, the county's missed it by a day. Sorry, you can't get those voted. You got to be removed off the ballots. So you want them to be able to vote. You just don't want them to be able to sign a petition to get one of your opponents on the ballot as a candidate.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I'll get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Oh, yeah, welcome into The Voice of Reason, hour number 3 of The Voice of Reason, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here in Wichita, Kansas, on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM, simulcasting on TV as well. KGPT TV, channel 2610. Good morning. Welcome aboard. Great to have you along today. It's a Monday. You know, I got to say, out of this show this morning, I've been just kind of in an argumentative kind of mood. I don't want to deal with the stupidity of the left right now. Really just not in the mood for that stuff. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. And we always bang our head against the wall. So I feel it today. For whatever reason, I'm feeling like the blocked wall that we have. You can't break through the wall that they put up of ignorance at times. And we try and we try and we try. I'm just a little frustrated this morning. It's not the best way to start a Monday. It is a Monday, so let's go ahead and make it the best we can. Starting your week the best way we know how, setting the tone for today and the entire week, but trying to get through the drivel of ridiculousness throughout society on a daily basis.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started.
There it is, 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. We got some calls on the line. It is open to you all hour. No guests today, just you and I chit in the chat, advancing conservatism, whatever's on your mind. On Facebook, someone did send me the profile of Professor Eric Rath at Kansas University. And it is it is a male, or so it looks like. I don't know. He may self-identify something different because the story. I think it's a typo. I just like going off on this because it's Kansas University, and it's just the professor or the liberalism that goes on at KU. So I'm just gonna have some fun with it today. The story said she. The story that I read said she. Now, I know it's a typo. It's got to be a typo. It is Professor Eric Rath, a professor of pre-modern Japan, social and cultural history, food history, and traditional performing arts. But, I mean, it is a male, but at the same time, this is a university where you can change the pronouns of what you'd like to be preferred as on college campus. And it's a professor that teaches food history and traditional performing arts. Now, I don't know what that means. And unless you're actually like culinary school here and you need the history of food a little bit before you go into culinary school, I don't know how this stuff actually helps you progress in your education in any way, shape, or form, other than because it's entertaining, which is fine. But if you're spending $10,000 of student loan debt in order to do this entertainment value education, then I don't know if it's quite worth it. And the professor that says they're very scared about guns and that you're not allowed to have a gun in class. How do you know, by the way, if it's concealed carry? How do you know that there's a gun? Unless they openly say that there is. And you admit it. If you have it concealed, how do you know? And this has gone on. It could potentially have gone on for a while. But now the professor not even having office hours to where the students can go to the professor during the office hours and talk to them. Not doing that anymore. And saying that if you do end up carrying a concealed carry in the class, we'll turn you into the authoritas, and trying to change the whole public code about what you're allowed to do with your firearm. So I don't know, being that scared of the firearm as you teach about samurai history, but yet you're scared about guns. I don't know. The man card kind of needs to be questioned a little bit. I'm just saying. The man card needs to be questioned a little bit. I mean, you're a professor that's teaching about the history of food and traditional performing arts that doesn't like guns while you're talking about samurai history. I don't know. Maybe the article actually has something going on here. What do you think? 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones here, shall we? Line number one. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Ray.
Hey, good morning, sir. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, that professor sounds like he's a little mixed. He or she is mixed up. But I've got 2 points on this school thing.
What you got?
The first one is the administrators are secretaries. And they've made themselves so important that they're more important than the business that they're working for.
That is true. I mean, what do they do? What do they actually do? I don't know what the secretaries do. Obviously, push in the papers and compliant with like government regulation, which okay, I get to some degree. But is that what's really making the kids smarter at the end of the day?
All they're doing is trying to keep track of stuff for the teachers, and they've become too important. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, where are the teachers' unions in this? I think we should be following the money, because why are they quiet, and why do they tolerate this, and why are they playing the teachers for chumps?
That is a really great point with the teachers' unions. Here's the thing. They don't care. And the teachers' unions, you don't hear a whole lot about the teachers' unions at all. Yep. The last time I heard about the teachers' unions was when they panicked and they threw a fit because Donald Trump got rid of the tax write-off that the teachers could do when they purchased stuff into the classroom, and they were going against the tax bill back in December. That was the last time I've heard the teachers' union, which, again, I made the point at that time, again, why the teachers union isn't more upset of the fact that teachers need to spend their hard-earned money to reinvest into their own classroom, as opposed to be upset why Donald Trump got rid of their $100 write-off that they can have on their taxes. To me, that's a stupid thing to be angry about, but it really shows, again, the priority the teachers union has.
Exactly. Yep. Well, that's all I had.
Hey, well, I appreciate it very much. Great points. 316-721-8255. I mean, you're spot on. Where's the teachers' unions? Where are the unions saying, hey, you promised that we'd have more money in the classroom for the teachers? for the resources in the classroom so we don't have to either ask the parents to bring ridiculous stuff like boxes of Clorox wipes, or you don't have to spend the money into your own classroom like, the big posters on the wall that has Albert Einstein with his tongue sticking out and the alphabet thing that's right across the chalkboard, or the different science things that you have in there like the 3D model of the solar system. That you don't have to buy that stuff of your own money, or snacks in the classroom. How many teachers for elementary school especially bring snacks for their classroom, even for inner city school, where, that's one of the hearty meals that the kids actually get because it's lower income areas. And the teachers who are already struggling to make ends meet, who already have their own money and their own budgets and their own deals that they have to worry about, then have to sink money in to buy snacks for a daily basis to feed the kids. Why is this on the burden of the teachers? And where the hell is the teachers union saying, hello, wrong priorities here. You just spent, a couple $1 million on maintenance and custodian issues, but yet you're still asking the parents to bring in some Clorox wipes for the kids because they wipe their snot all over the toys. Hello? I don't know. To me, there's a priority issue here, and you're absolutely right. The teachers union says nothing about this. They don't say anything about the money being sunk in by the teachers of their own accord. They don't say anything about the fact that the school districts year after year after year after year promise that they're going to spend money on the teachers. They give the teachers a 1.5% salary hike, while they give the superintendents a 6% salary hike, and they're already making above $250,000. Where's the priority? Where is the teachers union throwing a fit about this? And I could almost see the teachers union threatening to have the teachers walk out and protest the district as opposed to the government because they didn't raise the taxes for people. I could almost see that. If you remember the original intent of unions back in the day, the union was to get better benefits for the workers against the company who was raking in all the profits that wasn't sharing the profits with better salary or benefits for the employees. That's what the union was about. That would be the appropriate union response for this situation, that we've gone year after year after year after year without salary hikes or benefit hikes or anything taking care of the teachers. And, the administration is getting more and more and more and more money, and the superintendents are getting better and better and better hikes. We're increasing and actually adding deputy superintendents. We're adding different administrative positions. We're increasing the administrative rate while we're seeing a decrease in the student enrollment. This is the perfect epitome of if this was happening in the private sector for the union to be completely panicked right now. Completely going after the company, completely going after, quote unquote, the man. Well, in this situation, the school board and the school district is, quote unquote, the man, if you self-identify as one. But this would be the perfect opportunity for the for the teachers unions to be, wait a second, it's time for us to be taken care of. No more should the district actually be increasing money anywhere else except for the teachers. Period. End of story. That's it. But they're not. Why? Or because maybe they're in bed with the different KNEA and everybody else that's involved in the administrative side. And if we continue to partner together, then people will be distracted, being more angry at the Republicans that hate children and teachers, that don't want to raise taxes to 80% in the state because that's just what we need to do. And if you're not for that, then you probably hate the teachers and you probably hate the children. And that's how we're going to do it. So if we just partner up and work together, then we'll throw a few bones at the teachers, but at the same time, put money in other places and then continue to complain that we don't have enough money for the teachers. They're working together. That's the only example. That's the only thing I can think of. That's the only way I can see it. I don't know. Your thoughts on this? 316-721-8255. We'll take a break. 17 minutes past the hour. Again, no guest this hour. You and I just chatting it away. There is a new story about Medicaid expansion. Governor Collier has chosen a panel, and the panel has voted to encourage the 2019 legislative session and the legislators to expand Medicaid in Kansas. I thought we were over this debate. Conservatives show that they did very well in the primaries. Hopefully that shows again in the general election. And that's kind of the example of us saying we're sick and tired of this debate. We don't want Medicaid expansion. But thanks, Republican governor, for advocating for the expansion of Medicaid on your way out the door. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
4 minutes past the hour. Welcome into The Voice Reason. It is a Monday. Welcome into it. The best day of the entire week. Yeah, that's right. I said it. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones here, shall we? Phones are lined up. Line number 1. Good morning. What's your name? Hello. Going once, going twice. All right, get back to you here. I'll put you on hold. Stay tuned in. Let's go to line number 2 here. Good morning. What's your name?
My name is Eddie.
Hey, good morning, Eddie. How are you, sir?
I have a question. I heard you with Bob Weeks last week.
Yes.
I didn't catch it all. I have a question since he knows a lot about local Republicans. If for some reason a Republican county commissioner has to go elsewhere and not be able to fulfill his duties, do they have a name in? That's putting it politely, isn't it?
I'm wondering who you're referring to. Yes.
Do they have a name in mind as far as a replacement until the next election?
That's a good question. That will be, I don't know if that would come internally. Maybe we can mention that to Jim Howell on Wednesday and see if they have a name. I don't know if it's too early to tell. Now, I know that these legal cases, if that's who you may be referring to as, if they do end up having to step down for whatever reason, it's going to be some time out, and the current individual that's there has no intention of stepping down anytime soon. So I don't know if they have a replacement in mind already. I don't know if they're going to do a quick special election after. That would be really curious to see what's going to happen with that seat if something, now I'm not saying anything will, but if something comes of whatever may potentially be happening or anybody else, then what kind of process do we have to be able to slide someone in there to fill that seat?
Andy, I've been on federal juries before. Okay, seriously, I really have. And if you're facing 26 felony counts, Andy...
Just saying, I don't know.
I'm not going to say anything. Well, I would, but I'm going to be politically polite. Like hell if I am. Maybe that person can find him a prison that has a chicken farm. Who knows?
See, that's what I'm saying right there. You never know. Never know. Eddie, I appreciate it very much. It's going to be interesting to see that process as I think things are getting down to the nitty-gritty per se when it comes to that seat and what could happen with it and who's going to represent it and how fastly things may move. I don't know. And it's sad. It's just a sad ordeal all around. We don't want to see any of that kind of stuff in our community at all. 316-721-8255. Line number 1. Let's go here. Good morning. What's your name?
My name's Ann.
Good morning, Ann. How are you today?
Well, I'm fine. And I'd just like to make a comment. I know we've left this, but about colleges.
Sure.
Colleges are no longer the free arena of thought and learning. And back in the 70s, when I went, mid-70s, when I went to KU, there would be professors. And a friend of mine sat next to me. He'd been a manager. He'd been a supervisor. And he'd say, right to the professor, that's not going to work. Mm-hmm. That won't work in business. He was annihilated. On the other hand, I needed a good grade, so I, on the test, would regurgitate exactly what he said, and I would get great thinking, great ideas, good thoughts,
sure.
And he'd get a D and I'd get an F.
Sure.
Back in Emporia State, when my husband was getting his master's, he was working full-time, going to school full-time, and the young teachers weren't married, and we learned to party because those that partied made better grades. Mm-hmm. And it was fun. The kids were fun. But, my husband had been in management, and he said in class, and he learned real early, you don't do that. This won't work. He goes, this is for a perfect world, and this won't.
It's where the true idealists are from, and you're right. I mean, if they have no experience in the actual outside world where they actually use these in practice, they would understand that it actually doesn't work. And ideally, sure, it could work in a perfect world, but like you said, I mean, with your friend there, realistically, this is not going to work as a business decision, and they get punished for a comment like that.
Well, these people go from their bachelor's to their master's to their PhD, and they've never stepped foot in a business.
Sure.
And I had friends who were getting master's, their PhDs in psychology.
Sure.
When their PhD professors would have a party, wife would be the waitress and he would be the butler, and they would have to dress up as the clerk. And this is in Emporia State back in the 80s.
Wow.
And he said something about it, like he didn't really think that was necessary. And his reply was, the professors, you'll get your chance. If you decide to teach, you'll get your chance to do this.
Unbelievable.
Well, you don't say anything back because you want a good grade. But he told me, he goes, "I'm not going to teach my students. I'm not going to treat people that way. I refuse to."
Unbelievable. They got the parties at the house.
That's been going on in the 70s and 80s, and it's much, much worse now, I think.
Oh, I can only imagine. And I appreciate it. We got to take a bottom of the hour break here, but the teacher, well, come to my party, and then you might be able to get a good grade. That's the way it works. It's kind of like politics. You got to got to have the got to play the game the right way to get the good grade, not just show up and actually be smart. No, you don't want to do that. Bottom of the hour news coming up. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
Are you a Hoosier-holic?
Yeah, baby.
Call in now at 721-8255. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Say what? Welcome into The Voice of Reason. Wrapping up the program today, doing the thing, advancing conservatism, and it is open lines to you at 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. I never got to experience that whole side of college about let's go to the teacher's party and have fun, and you can get a good grade as long as you show up and you just keep your mouth shut. There were, being in politics and being in political science, there were a couple that I could tell were like that, didn't take classes with them, or at least didn't show up to actually prove that I could do the class. I really did. It was bad. This is why I'm paying off all the ridiculous student loans. After about the first semester, I was like, I'm the chairman of the College Republicans, and there's a lot of parties that I just want to go enjoy, not hosted by the professors. And I'm just going to do those. Class, I really did. I tried to show up. I tried to be the one that was like, oh, I can do this. I'll just wing it. Because I'm kind of one of those individuals. I'm a procrastinator. Procrastinators, by the way, we can unite tomorrow. But I'm kind of one of those individuals. And in school, I would show up to the first week of the semester. And then, now this is after the first semester. The first one I did really well. I got all A's. I was really happy. I was like, oh, this is easy. I'll just wing it. After that, I'd show up to all my classes for the first week. And then I would not go to class the entire rest of the semester. And then I would just show up for the final at the end. Obviously, it didn't work out very well. And that's why after about a year and a half, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm kind of done and over this. But I couldn't sit there and listen to the liberal professors talk. I couldn't do it. I couldn't hear them talk about how terrible the world is. I couldn't hear them talk about, what we need to do and how terrible things are and how great Democrats are and all this. I couldn't do it. I couldn't listen to it. So I just didn't show up. There was one of the professors called for ethnic studies, of course, because we have to, in political science, have to learn about the ethnic studies. And it was a former mayor of the town, and he was really slow moving, and he would literally fall asleep during his class service, during his lecture, and he would doze off while he was lecturing. He'd be having us read part of the chapter, and he would begin to doze off. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go learn it somewhere else. Thanks. And I didn't show up. He was one of those to where he was an African-American individual, and he was talking about Barack Obama and was talking about, if you remember, during Jeremiah Wright and that whole thing about chickens coming home to roost and goddamn America and all this other stuff. And he came into class and he was trying to justify the pastor saying these things because, during a black service, everybody's really excited and the emotions run really high and you just get really elaborate. You get really excited and it just came out and he doesn't really mean it. He really loves the nation, but it's okay because that's just what you do when you just get really amped up and you're feeling the heat of the moment and you're getting really excited. And that's just what you do. So it's okay. And totally trying to justify all this. And after that, I said, you know what? I'm just not going to go to the class. Now, there was one class that I did enjoy that was actually really good, and it was American Government 101, and I went, and it was my very first semester, the one that I actually showed up to the entire year, and I think I've told you this story, but he showed up, and he's a little bitty short guy, the professor, and he was wearing a Hawaiian t-shirt. That was his style. He didn't wear a suit and tie. He wasn't an older guy. He was a younger guy-ish, wore a Hawaiian t-shirt, and he'd have like half of his buttons buttoned down, and he'd have like all his chest hair coming out. And I don't know if he was trying to impress the college girls or what he was doing, but he'd show up with shorts and a Hawaiian t-shirt. And the very first day of class, he said that he was a libertarian socialist, which I've still yet to figure out what a libertarian socialist actually is. But it was an 80-person lecture hall. There was about 80 students in there. I was one of 2 or 3 Republicans in there. And I sat in the front row, and I would always argue and debate with him. Now, luckily, he was one of those where he was a cool guy, and he actually gave me an A, and he loved to pick on me, and he loved to debate me, but he never used that against me with the grades. That was probably the only professor in the entire university that would actually grade fairly there. Because the rest of them I don't think actually would, but he did. I got like a 97% in that class, and I enjoyed it. But he was a little odd, and he was definitely the prime example of a liberal professor at a university. Never went to the parties, though. Never went to the parties hosted by a college professor, to where you kind of need to show up and play the game in order to get a good grade. 316-721-8255. Let's go to the phones, get your phone calls, shall we? It's open lines to you. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Before I make my comment, I got to tell you, a libertarian socialist, that's a libertarian who believes in plenty of drugs and somebody else pays for it.
Well, there you go. You can do the drugs and let someone else subsidize it for you. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it now. That makes sense.
On the news, they're talking a lot about this shooting at the video game down in Jacksonville. The shooter is from Maryland, where they have every kind of gun control there is.
True.
In Florida, he wasn't a resident, so he could not legally buy a gun in Florida, any kind of a gun. Under the current laws down there, they've just been changed. He might have been able to buy a rifle, but or a shotgun, which would have killed more people. But a handgun is convenient and everything. So he must have gotten this gun in Maryland and brought it to Florida because he planned on what? Killing people at the video game in case somebody else beat him with a faster thumb.
Sure. I mean, it was a competition. It was a tournament. He ended up losing, and he was very distraught over that. So he had to let them know what Grand Theft Auto or what Call of Duty or whatever game they were playing, that he had to know that, if they want to beat him, then they can beat him for real in a real life scenario. So I better bring my gun.
Gun control doesn't work. Background checks, all they say is you haven't done anything in the past. I mean, this guy that killed Molly Tibbetts, he was unknown, therefore he had no record. If you make up a completely false, fictitious name, that name is clear. There's no criminal record with it. These people who think a law, it's against the law to commit murder, it's against the law to rape, it's against the law to do all of these things. But the people who break the laws don't care.
They don't care, which is why laws don't really work. The only way you can do it is to defend yourself against those individuals. You're right, Jim. I appreciate it. Appreciate the call very much. I mean, you're right. We bang our head against the wall over and over, and it should be that simple. It's not that simple because the progressives just don't care. They just don't care. It's about control, and the fools that do fall for it think that they're doing something productive, but they don't recognize that the people that break the laws are breaking laws already. So therefore, we need to put more laws in to try and teach them to not break the laws when they're breaking the laws already, because they just don't care. 316-721-8255. There is a story out of Forbes magazine. I wanted to get to Medicaid expansion. We'll touch on that tomorrow. There's a lot more that's going to come out of it. There's a panel in Kansas already assigned by Governor Collier that has voted to encourage the 2019 legislative session to expand Medicaid. It's not going to happen. I think we're getting into one of those situations to where, the former administration's not liking the new administration per se, so we're trying to set them up to have to deal with stuff that really we shouldn't be dealing with. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I don't really want to get into that right now because there's not enough time. It kind of went too long on the college professor thing. But there's a story from Forbes magazine about the nation where the economy's not actually doing as well as what Republicans say. America's real economy, it isn't booming. According to Forbes, The Nation recently published a stunning overview of the working poor and underpaid. One of the most powerful data points and pieces described how empty the decline in unemployment actually is. Having jobs doesn't exempt anyone from the poverty line any longer. About 12% of Americans, close to 43 million people, are considered poor, and yet they are employed. So as we talk about how we have the lowest unemployment rates in a really long time, the Democrats and the progressives are saying, we don't care. Look at them. They're still poor. Which you have to stop and think, why are they still poor? Well, obviously, Andy, it's just because of the corporation paying them below the poverty line minimum wage, and therefore they're struggling. So they may be employed and they may be working, but they're not actually making the most amount of money they can, and therefore they're still in poverty. So you can have a low unemployment, but people are still suffering. And yet you wonder why that there's so many people that are struggling with the amount of money that they actually make. Maybe because inflation and things are more expensive. Maybe because the government's trying to tax you too high. Maybe because the government's spending too much money because they don't live in a balanced budget the way that we do as an individual. It's none of that stuff. It, of course, is only the corporation that doesn't want to pay you the right amount of money, right? 12%, 43 million people are considered poor, yet they are employed. They earn an individual income below $12,000 per year and slightly more than that for a family of two. If you include housing and medical expenses in the calculation, it raises the percentage of Americans living in poverty to 14% from 12. That's 45 million people. At that level of income, according to Forbes magazine, they almost no way to pay for food and shelter in any sizable American city. That means people now can be both employed and homeless. According to The Nation, quote, in America's big cities, chiefly because of widening gap between rent and wages, thousands of working poor remain homeless, sleeping in shelters on the streets or their vehicles, sometimes along with their families. And it's a sad deal. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's heartbreaking. Why? Why is that? We never seem to look at the real core issue of why people are struggling. You are saying that we need more government expenditures, more government programs, more socialism or democratic socialism, where we raise the taxes on individuals. If you remember, and you actually break down the tax rates of who actually pays what, and we've said this many times before, the top 20% of Americans pay 98% of all income taxes. I'm just saying, the lower income already don't pay income tax. They're struggling because taxes are already kind of high. Then you look at sales tax, really is what we're talking about here. Go to the grocery store and try and buy groceries here at a 7% tax rate on your food and tell me how you're not struggling. Then you have inflation to where it makes things more expensive. Then the company, it gets forced, we got to raise your minimum wage up. So you raise the minimum wage up, then the goods are more expensive, so everybody has to spend more money on the goods that you're trying to sell as a company. Or we're just getting rid of the employees altogether because, the rates are too high and we just can't afford that, so we're going to go towards mechanical stuff. Did you see they actually have mechanical computers now that are making your hamburgers at McDonald's? Pretty soon, that whole fight for 15 for flipping the burgers at McDonald's, you're going to go to the wayside and not have a job at all because it's all going to be computerized. Tell me how that's beneficial to society. So you can complain all you want here about how we're living in poverty, and you can be excited and celebrate about the fact that we have low unemployment levels, but we still have a lot of poor people. Of course we have poor people, thanks to the government, thanks to government regulation, thanks to housing, thanks to the inflation. I mean, look at what they did in Colorado. I know I always bring this up, and I know someone's going to argue with me on this, but when you talk about pot in Colorado, look at what it did. It tripled the amount of people going there, 10,000 people a month. I don't know if that's still the rate, but a year ago, that was the rate of people moving to Colorado. The homeless population is tripled. The rent is out of this world. For a 300-square-foot apartment, you're looking at $1,200 a month. On the low side, tell me who can afford that. And it's not because the economy, but it's because of government trying to manipulate the economy. Let's look at the real issues here, shall we? Let's look at the deeper meaning of why there's poor, why there's people struggling, why people can't afford to live based on the income that they actually get. And by the way, if you're making a minimum wage of $12,000 a year, $10,000 a year, really that's $1,000 a month minimum wage, that's really what you're making. You're not supposed to live on that income. That's the whole purpose of an entry-level position. That's the purpose of a low-income job. It's supposed to be the stepping stone to something bigger. It's supposed to be the college kid working their way through college. It's supposed to be the high school student that's starting to get some work experience as they go off to college. It's supposed to be the temporary thing to get you up. You're not supposed to live off of that. You're not supposed to take care of a family off of that. And if you do, then there's a problem. They can say all they want to about poor people making $12,000 a year. Why are you living on $12,000 a year? Why aren't you using that as the stepping stone to something bigger and better? Why aren't you only there 6 months to a year to say, I'm getting my feet back, getting my feet wet again. Now I got something better going on. We've now made it victimhood. I mean, these positions, they're supposed to be the rotating door. I hate rotating doors. I like stability in my life. I don't like when people come in and out and they get hired for a month and they can't do it and they leave and whatever the case is. I like stability. I like consistency. I get it. But if you're trying to raise a family of 4 off of flipping burgers at McDonald's making $12,000 a year, you have a problem. And then you turn around and blame society because we're not giving you a proper wage? Give me a break. 316-721-8255, line number 1. Let's go to it. Good morning. What's your name?
White Trash.
Hey, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Andy. How are you doing?
Hey, living the dream. I don't know. I'm a little grumpy today, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I've been grumpy for almost 2 years now.
Well, you know what? You only got 6 more to go. It's okay.
Oh, yeah, right. Hey, I was wondering if you could tell me why Wichita Liberty TV is shown on Great Plains TV Network 26.1, and your show, The Voice of Treason, is shown on Great Plains TV 26.10.
Well, because there's awesome diversity there.
Does Bob Weeks refuse to be associated with your parent network, InfoWars?
It's still the same thing. No, it's just that's where the network decided to put my show because it fit in with their current lineup and everything. So that's just the way it works. I appreciate the phone call very much. Voice of Treason. Just 6 more years. 6 more years. I know you like it. 316-721-8255. Let's sneak in another phone call here, shall we? Line number 2. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, it's John the Libertarian.
John the Libertarian. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. I'm going to leave the whole debate for Colorado pot for another day.
Sure.
Because I know we're short on time, but you kind of made the point that I was going to call in about for me while I was waiting there. But when people don't make enough money for their lifestyle, they have to change their lifestyle. Unless you're in America now, where you just depend on the government to make up the slack.
Sure.
When I moved out of my parents' house at 18, I had roommates, and I had a junk car, and, I made minimum wage. But I found a way to make it work without relying on anything else. And I've always used the example of illegal immigrants, which can't use that example anymore because now they're getting all kinds of benefits. But 20, 30 years ago, they got nothing. And they would come here, and they would work for pennies, and they would make life work. We had a family in a nice house just down the street. Not a family. We had 6 families living in one house because that's what they could do to make it work.
Sure. But the new American dream today is you need to have a home with a really large mortgage that's, about the same as amount that you probably make in a year or 2 year span. You need to have a brand new car with a really large car loan. Then you need to have student loans all over the place. Then when you go, then you can tell the government, I'm not making enough money. I need social benefits.
That's it.
The new
That's
American
the new
dream.
America.
Yep. There it is. I mean, come on. How many people have you heard complain, say, I need to fight for 15. I'm making $12,000 a year. I'm not making enough money. I got a family to support here. How do you expect me to live off of $12,000 a year? Instead of saying, the job I'm making's only giving me $12,000 a year. I got a family to feed. What else can I be doing right now to compensate for that? Because I need more money to take care of my family.
Right. There's lots of other families in the same position. They can pool their resources together. Roommates, that's how I survived.
Sure.
There's lots of ways to do it.
There is. I get it, John. I appreciate the call very much. So you're absolutely right. Only in America, the new American dream, playing the victimhood because the government's not taking care of you, or the evil corporation with the evil business owner is not giving you enough money to live off the entry-level position wage when you shouldn't be living off the entry-level position wage. 7 minutes to the top of the hour. This is The Voice of Reason. We'll take one more, wrap up.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. We got about a minute left of the program. Let's try and sneak in one more phone call here, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Hello?
Hello, Helen. How are you? Got about 45 seconds. Go for it.
Okay, well, God foretold us about these spoiled brat people in these last days in the Song of Moses in Deuteronomy 32 and Revelations chapter 15. So there's no surprise to those who pay attention to the scriptures. He said that there would be a whole bunch of spoiled brat
that is true. It just drives me nuts. Like, what can we do to like wake these people up and be like, hey, you're acting like a dork and we need to like not make you act like a dork? I don't know what to do because it drives me nuts. I'm one of those guys where you see a problem and you want to fix it, and right now I just don't feel like we can fix it. We try and we try and we try and we try, and no matter what, they always have some type of lame excuse. Appreciate it very much, Helen. It's a great point. I mean, they're there. Takes all kinds in the world. I just bugs me. It bugs me. Which is why I think this show's been a little weird today. It bugs me. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Everybody have a great Monday. We'll be back tomorrow on a Tuesday. We got a lot to cover tomorrow. Stay tuned.